mellow like the light of early dawn. The chamber walls were marked with mystic signs, hieroglyphs, and sacred texts, and in the chamber, Yehoshua found himself alone, where he remained for many days. He read the sacred text, thought out the meaning of the hieroglyphs, and sought the import of the master's charge to find himself. A revelation came, and he got acquainted with his soul. He found himself, and then he was not alone. One night he slept, and at midnight hour, the door that he had not observed was open, and a priest in somber garb came in and said, "My brother, pardon me for coming in at this unseemly hour, but I have come to save your life. You are the victim of a cruel plot. The priests of Heliopolis are jealous of your fame, and they have said that you will never leave these gloomy crypts alive. The higher priests do not go forth to teach the world, and you are doomed to simple servitude. Now, if you would be free, you must deceive these priests. You must tell them you are here to stay for life, and then when you have gained all that you wish to gain, I will return, and by a secret way will lead you forth that you may go in peace." And Yehoshua said, "My brother man, will you come here to teach the sea? Am I within these holy walls to learn the vows of vow hypocrisy? Nay, man, my father scorns deceit, and I am here to do his will. Deceive these priests? Not while the sun shines. What I have said, I have said. I will be true to them, to Allah, and to myself." And then the tempter left, and Yehoshua was again alone. But in a little time, a white-robed priest appeared and said, "Well done. The Logos has prevailed. This is the trial chamber of hypocrisy." And then he led the way, and Yehoshua stood before the judgment seat. And all the brothers stood. The hierophant came forth and laid hands on Yehoshua's head, and placed within his hand a scroll on which was written just one word, sincerity, and not a word was said. But God again appeared and led the way, and in the spacious room, replete with everything a student craved, was Yehoshua, stayed to rest and wait. Islam, Islam, Islam. Today is October 1st, 2022, and welcome to another Moorish Perspective class brought forth by our Moorish American government. Today's host instructor will be our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedu Aminti Yamoheji Shepsuel, with our topic on the floor coming from Ayat 9. He read the sacred text, sought out the meanings of the hieroglyphs, and sought the import of the master's charge to find himself. With our master question on the floor, did Prophet Noble Drew Ali instruct the Moors in Medu? We are also live streaming Moorish Can. Please check your emails for that link. And at this time, I would like to give honors again to our National Grand Secretary of the State of South Carolina, Divine Minister Dr. Dendra Ania Kurtabay, for opening up according to law. And also honors to our National Assistant Grand Secretary of the State of Indiana, Dr. Saad Nasinu Hesheru-El, also Divine Minister, for taking registration and also reading our chapter of the week, chapter 27. At this time, I will call to the floor our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedu Aminti Yamoheji Shepsuel. Islam, Grandman. Unmuted.
Islamism. Can you hear me, sis?
I can hear you clear as a bell. Gratitude.
Gratitude. And we apologize for technical difficulty. The whole apparatus shut down on us. Prophet said it like this: Rome, you had me 2,000 years ago, but I got you today. Islam. Islam, more Shakin. We want to rise first upon the seventh and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet. Honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to welcome our Moorish kin to yet another Moorish Perspectives. As I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imaniat Mohadi Shabazz, and my ancient Comedian high name being the same as Dr. Shedawa Mentiel Mohajet Shepsuel. And most definitely, as we always like to welcome our family to another Moorish Perspectives, so that we can get the drawing of our Moorish kin. This is the Moorish Perspectives, not my perspectives, not, any particular one Moorish perspective. This is all of our perspectives. So, we got a grand drawing to bring on the manifest as always. As this is what we do. We are here to teach our people, their nationality and their divine creed. And one of the things that we demonstrate being key here is a balance in the way that we bring that forth. We bring our family the divine aspect of things, and then we bring our family into a clear conception, of, our laws. So that's where you get the divine and the national portions of the movement. So once we do that, then our people got a well-balanced meal, so to speak. We can bring these measures forth, portion by portion, divine and national, and we can bring them forth divine and national as one particular dish of angels' food. But nevertheless, our people are going to learn, that which has to do with themselves. Because one of the greatest misunderstandings our people have had now is an understanding of their own history. Because their history has often been described by the criminal, and the criminal is the one that committed the crime of denationalizing you. The criminal is the one that committed the crime of stripping you of everything it is that belonged to you. And we often use the symbology in the Piscean record when it speaks of the parable of the Good Samaritan, of one falling from a state of what they called Jerusalem, or a state of peace, into a state of Jericho. And notice I'm saying a state. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was found in a state. He found us in a particular state. You see, hopefully we don't want to go back to that special state that we were in. But nevertheless, one fell from a state of Jerusalem. If you look up, the true definition, it means a place that is founded in peace. A place that is dealing with peace. Peace is a state of mind. Peace is a condition. Peace is the state in which we existed originally. So when you go into this chapter that we have, chapter 1, that talks about, one going into a place and you deal with these halls of learning, that are spoken of often, in our adept degrees. The halls of learning, goes into the realm of what they call the sacred halls of the Amenti. As we pointed out to our Moorish kin recently, that's the real firmament. When they talk about the firmament, of the heavens, and we know it's 7 in all, but if you were to take the first 2 degrees and go 3 by 3, and then the last one being 1, which is the heights of divinity that all prophets end up obtaining, then you can come into a clear conception of what it is that we are demonstrating. Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah was said to have ascended through the 7 heavens. So Prophet Noble Ali likewise ascended through those same heavens, and he found himself too within the halls of Emet. And to us, as they would say comedically, he became the first prophet of Amun. For those who don't know who Amun is, or Amen, this is the hidden one. That's why we are asked in our 101s, when we ask, can you see Allah? Can you see him? No, not with the physical eye, not with the carnal eye. You can't even hear him with carnal ears. You see? But where's the nearest place that we can meet him? Within the heart. And we're not talking about the blood pumping organ. So later for looking for Allah, in the physical heart. Now there's a lot of metaphysics and symbolism that leads to certain activities and functionality in relation to dealing with this particular organ. And we can see the signature of Allah being written in the way these things operate, all the way down to the nature of the blood and the God code in the DNA, to the fact that the great God Allah says he's near to man than in his very own jugular vein. He is near to man than man is to himself. We can go into all those aspects. But nevertheless, consciousness is the true seat or the house, of our divinity. You see, so we were talking about dealing with that divine creed. And you can't have a true knowledge about your divine creed unless you know about your divinity. Often when you are speaking about the divine creed and divinity, you're talking about listening to that silent voice of the great God that speaks within. This is universal doctrine when it comes to most teachings that you will see being taught all the way across the board. They may speak on it or call it different things, but nevertheless, you will find that it's all within the self. I'll give you a prime example. Most of the teaching of ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, as referred to in the Moorish Holy Quran, takes place in the temple of Heliopolis. You see, the temple of the sun. And in Arabic, they refer to this as special places, Ain Shams. And even if you were to go into the book of Genesis, unbeknownst to many, when they use the term Ain, which is A-I-N or A-Y-N or E-I-N, depending on the sound shift in the language. Ain actually means I. Ain Shams, is what they call Heliopolis today. That's the new name that they utilize. But Ain Shams can be traced all the way back to, again, the Piscean records. Ain dealing with that I, or the providence of Allah that is present in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. When it say move upon the face of the water, that's transliterated. The word face is transliterated from the word ayin. Ayin also has to do with what people would know as going back to the source of the creator himself. And also when you go into even the 4th day, where they mention, the creation of the sun and the moon, you hear the term al-shams, Shams, Shem, so to speak. So we can see why in Arabic they refer to what is known today as the area where the temple of Heliopolis used to be, because they have built something on it now, that is known as Ain Shams. It's called the Eye of the Sun. You see, it was called the City of the Sun when it was just called what we call Ianu, because that's where the word Ain come from, Ianu, which is spelled often sometimes as A-N-U, Anu, I-N-U, I-W-N-U, however you want to put it, Anu. This is why you hear speaking of what is referred to as the high priest of Anu. And we know that the high priest of Anu, those of us who have seen the lesson over and over, and you follow my channel, we know that this is actually referring to the word more, a ma'ur, M-A-U-R. You see? And this goes into the aspect of actually who we are as a people. So we are all here now as high priests of the temple of the city of the sun. But you are the truest and most greatest temple, being the city of the sun, because in all actuality, everything that has to do with your enlightenment is above your neck. Your sun is your intelligence that you are able to shine upon humanity and give humanity light when they are found within their darkest hour. Islam. So make no mistake about it. We just want to open up the way and make it plain to our Moorish kin. And let some of our family up here too, by the way, that is waiting. Want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin that is here, and everyone who has been dedicated to coming forth to listen to what it is that we have to offer here in the Moorish American government. So this is going to be a grand class, Moorish kin. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. And Allah's lead on and victory is sure. And peace, family. Tracy Jackson, we give honors to your family. They checking in. Oh, this is going to be a grand class tonight, Moors. This is going to help our Moorish kin too, for our grand subject matter tomorrow as well. So we laying some foundation for even what we have coming up in our grand class and the homework that our Moorish kin going to bring on the manifest. Peace, Brother Charles Royale. Another faithful Moor. Islam. Gratitude. So, all I can say is just hold on to your seats, Moors, because we finna go down through there and up through there. This is going to be a very powerful measure here. We will remove all doubt and teach you exactly what Noble Drew Ali has taught the Moors, even though there have been those who tried to bury the truth. There have been those who didn't want you to know what Prophet Noble Drew Ali was teaching because they taught you it was a secret. But we teach that there is no secret, but everything is sacred. And so these lessons that we bring to you are sacred. And so that's why we were able to receive them in this new era in time and bring them forth to our family with clarity, power, and authority. We couldn't say the things that we say right now, speak on what we speak on, had not Prophet Noble Drew Ali laid a foundation for us, being an Egyptian adept master. You see, he wouldn't use that terminology, and not give us the keys to civilization. See, that's what a lot of our people forget. He said that he had placed the keys of civilization within the hands of the Moors. And we know the hand is symbolic to the mind, right? So if he placed the keys of civilization in the hands of the Moors, then what are some of the keys of civilization? What are some of the things that are needed in order to civilize, humanity? The same things that were utilized to bring forth, so to speak, brought forth by Al-Sar, who was the first civilizer of ancient Kemet. You have keys to agriculture, keys to how to establish government, keys, to unlock the doors, of, we can say, ignorance, so to speak, and free our people and allow them to become enlightened. You see, so these keys are many. But tonight, one of the keys of civilization we want to emphasize on is the key of the language of God. Because when we ask the question that we ask, did Prophet Noble Drew Ali instruct the Moors in Medu? You have to understand what Medu truly is. We know what they told you it was. They told you that Medu, was basically just some symbols that was translated as alphabets. But upon investigation, we found that Medu itself, if it means the language of God, then this automatically tell you that you can't use human knowledge, so to speak, and try to place the great God Allah in a box. And you place him in a box to the extent where you think his language is limited to what you call an alphabet. You see what I'm saying? That's for us to communicate in. The great God Allah don't need alphabets to communicate with. We utilize alphabet to preserve our history. We utilize the same language you hear me speaking now to educate our people, teach our people. And what we heed from this, we take records, and of history, and we are able to write our own history based upon the teachings and the lessons that we receive. Allah don't need none of that. But nevertheless, we as human beings utilize these as special tools. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us a divine language. His language, though he spoke to us in English, was more elevated than what you think English is. He gave us a teaching in a divine dialect, which is basically dealing with the language of God. And that's what Medu is. It is the language of God. So again, you can't limit that to just a script. That's nothing against any scripts or alphabets that's out there. We just telling you the truth. Allah speaks to man through man. That's one of the keys that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to us. And it gets even more powerful and it goes further in depth, because we're going to make it plain now tonight. When we speak, this question will be answered because we have those who have asked us the question, well, if Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was the Egyptian adept, why didn't he teach, anything in relation to dealing with Medu? I beg to differ. All you got to do is go into his Moorish Holy Quran, and I'm getting ready to show it to you in a minute, exactly what he taught on the Medu. We just brought one portion forth in this special subject chapter here, where he taught the Moors. If you go into the instruction as it has been given. I'm going to show you something right here. Let me share this screen for those who are looking. And those who hear me within the sounds of my voice on the conference call, you will get the draw into it. Will be made as plain as it is to those who are right here, who have the link and who are on the panel, as it is to those who are on the line. This is how plain that it will be made, and this is just a powerful demonstration, family. I want to do this first as I go into this special drawing. Let me share this. I want to give honors to this brother too, because we always quoting our family. Okay, here we go, right here. We always quoting this good brother right here, our brother G.M. James, Stolen Legacy. Remember now, this brother was took off the camp for this information because he dared to teach our people who the true God man was, and everything else was false. Listen to what the brother says. We're going to lay our foundation with this, and we're going to go further into it. We just talked about the high priest of Anu, which are also known at times as the high priest of Amen, high priest of Ra. But nevertheless, it was the Moors who were the last, to basically take these teachings, as we will find here. Listen to this, and we're going to get into the grand drawing tonight. It says, during the Persian, the Greek, and Roman invasions, large numbers of Egyptians fled not only to the desert and mountain regions, but also to adjacent islands, lands in Africa, Arabia, and Asia Minor, where they lived and secretly developed the teachings which belong to their mystery system. Now, this is key that we hear this here. This is very relevant, and you're going to find out about these teachings in a minute. It says, in the 8th century AD, the Moors, i.e. natives of Mauritania in North Africa, invaded Spain and took with them the Egyptian culture which they had preserved. This is the same thing our Grand National Chairman has been telling us about the ancient Egyptian mystery system and ancient Comedian mystery system. Our brother G.M. James is saying the same thing. Notice now it said that they took with them the Egyptian culture, You see, it said that they secretly developed the teachings which belong to their mystery system, right? It says knowledge in the ancient days was centralized. It belonged to a common parent system, the wisdom teaching or mysteries of Egypt. I want you to remember that term, wisdom teaching, right? And mysteries of Egypt, which the Greeks used to call Sophia. So it says, as such, the people of North Africa were the neighbors of the Egyptians and became the custodians of the Egyptian culture, right? So not only is it saying that these people of North Africa were the neighbors of the Egyptian, they were because they were of the lineage of the ancient Puttites, who came later to be known as the Libyans, and also the the Canaanites. These are the ones who moved from the Nile Valley civilization, being seeds of Cam or Ham, and went over into the west coast of Africa, the northeast and northwest coast of Africa. You see, as we call it, a Mexum in its ancient name. So they took this teaching all the way across North Africa over into the furthest west. And once they took it into this particular area, this teaching or this culture, you can see the trail of, left behind by the trailblazers, so to speak, that we are speaking about now. We call them the Moors. In ancient times, we know they were known as the Mari or the Moorish gods, because we emphasize this. We utilize the hammer of repetition to pound in the truth, so that our Moorish kin can get it. So it says, as such, people of North Africa were the neighbors of the Egyptians and became the custodians of the Egyptian culture. Custodians are people who are preservers. They are those who are the keepers, of these special lessons. Had not they kept the lessons and preserved these lessons, then basically they would have become lost in fact. You see? So this is necessary to understand why it's important to know how the Moors became the custodians of this teaching. It said that's why we are taught in Act 4 of our divine constitution, to preserve these laws. You see, how do you preserve them? By taking them into the consciousness and living them. So it says, again, they became the custodians of the Egyptian culture, which they spread through considerable portions of Africa. That means Asia Minor and Europe. So all of these teachings that they had coming up out of the Sabbath teachings, the wisdom teachings of Kemet, the mystery system, they spread these special teachings all across Africa, throughout Asia Minor, and Europe as well. We got proof of this. It says, during their occupation of Spain, the Moors displayed with considerable credit the grandeur of African culture and civilization. The schools and libraries which they established became famous throughout the medieval world. Science and learning were cultivated and taught, right? And it goes on. It also said, and that was page 33 and page 34, it says, in addition, the Moors kept up a constant contact with Mother Egypt, for they had established the caliphates not only in Baghdad and Cordova, but also at Cairo in Egypt. Europe in the Middle Ages by Alt, and that's he's quoting his source. It says, just here, it would be well to mention that all great leaders of the great religions of antiquity were initiates of the Egyptian mystery system, from Moses, who was the Egyptian hieroglyphic, down to Christ. It should also be of interest to know that European scientists like Roger Bacon, Johann Kepler, Copernicus, it says, and others obtained their science through Arab or Berber sources. It is also noteworthy that throughout the Middle Ages, as European knowledge of medicine came from the same sources, or these same sources. We also know Berber is another misnomer. We encourage our family to get the book Inventing the Berbers, and they'll tell you that the original name was Mari, the same name that I speak of in dealing with Damari. We're going to get into some of that a little later, but all of these scientists drew from the science of ancient Kemet. All of the masterminds throughout the climes and times came through Kemet. Moses was said to be learned in all of the ways of the Egyptians. Even when you go in the fact that he was raised up as a young seed, just as Yehoshua was raised up from the age of 12 and taken also through those, him and John, Yahya, you see, the harbinger. Both of them came up under the teachings of Matheno. For those who don't know who Matheno is, this is one who knows the self. You see? But also, even if we were to go back to the time as we talk about the brother Pharaoh Joseph, who obtained the 7th adept degree, this one was so grand in his interpretation, he was allowed to come into Kemet as a ruler. So he understood the metaphysics of the language. You see, so all of this teaching has came down to us through various prophets, even Muhammad ibn Abdullah. As we told you, when he went through his ascent at the 7th heaven, he was shown the Nile Valley civilization. You see, so now it wouldn't be anything different when it comes to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who went into Kemet as a young seed, just as all of these others that we named a few minutes ago. They went into Kemet as young seeds, and they grew to become masterminds, master teachers, gurus, guiders of their people. But yet we have those who among our people, the naysayers, they would have you believe that we couldn't have a prophet that was risen up from amongst us. All you got to do is look into the evidence of his name. El Hajj being the journey, Sharif being of noble birth. You see, because his nobility is traced back to the ancestry that goes straight back to the great God himself, Sharif. When you say, we have a term that we use in reference to his name, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, El Hajj Shepsis Ray Abdul Ali. You see? And for those who don't know, Hajj is a crown. It's actually the white crown of Upper Kemet, which shows that he is at the highest state of elevation. There is no lower self present as a reflection or as a shadow. That's why we call him Ali, because he is the most high and the most exalted. El Hajj Shepsis Ray Abdul Ali. You see? So Shepsis Ray corresponds with Sharif, which means noble, for those who don't know. And for those who say, well, how y'all get this name? The prophet never wrote. Well, he said he was going to give it to his good Moors. It's no different than him saying, in the 101s, that the name of the first physical man couldn't be used except by those, who were adepts. Didn't mean it was a secret. It just meant that even if you had it, you couldn't use it if you wasn't adept enough to tap into the divinity of it, basically. And this is the same when it came with his name, that he said, when he said, I was given a high name over there. So we know that just the mere name Noble Drew Ali was not the high name, because they had already heard that. They already knew what Noble Drew Ali was. His high name is the one that was given to us and passed down, through oral tradition, from mouth to ear, so to speak. And it reached us into this era and time where we are now. Meaning the prophet gave it to his good Moors, such as I Cook Bey, G Cook Bey, such as R German Bey, such as Christina Price Bey, such as Sister Pearl Drew Ali. You see, these are the good Moors that he passed these things down to. And they, in turn, gave this measure to our Grand National Chairman. You see, it's that easy. Well, if you wasn't a good Moor, then, well, we ain't got to say a good Moor. It wasn't you that wasn't a good Moor, but you adhering to a lineage of those who wasn't good Moors. We know that those who came through the rules and regulations in 1934 portion didn't receive that good name, because Kirkman Bey was never made an adept, not by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He might have been made, a so-called adept by those who put him in power, and that was dealing with masonry. But he wasn't made an adept by Prophet Noble Drew Ali like I Cook Bey, G Cook Bey, and all the other Moors. See, that's the difference. And so we are not against our Moorish kin, because they think the way they think, because half of them don't even know they've been deceived. Half of them don't know they've been misled. But this is just one of the ways how knowledge becomes lost. And once it becomes lost, save to those who have it, those who think they know the truth end up scoffing at the truth and saying, you made that up. Yeah, I just come up with that. No, you just so happen to be, again, of the lineage of those who didn't come through the lineage of those who know. And that's not somewhere we brag or boast about the things to be obtained of those things that are of no worth. We just gonna give it to you truthfully, and we ain't gonna sugarcoat it, because you're gonna be mad with us if we give it to you, in a more level of, we'll say, being pious anyway. So when we speak this truth, we speak this truth unmovable, being unshakable, unbreakable, standing upon it. It don't matter if you accept it or not, because we here for the young and not yet born. So if it's meant for you, you're going to get the exact measure that we bring it. So let us go further into this drawing, though. Now that we know that we are the custodians, of these teachings, the wisdom teachings, the Sabbat teachings of ancient Kemet, this is a powerful drawing, because it's not strange that even in the Grand Quran, we have to make a distinction between us and those who have become Arabized, because people don't know that the original Quran itself, came through what is called Mudar, which is a descendant of Medu. When we say Medu is really a blanket term. Now, when you get to talking about hieroglyphics and all that, that's a whole nother story. You see? Because there's another way that you deal with those particular pictorial expressions as opposed to using an alphabet, so to speak. And we finna show that to you in a minute. So we just want to emphasize this, family, that our family see exactly where we're coming from, our premise. Most of our family identify with our brother G.M. James. Again, he was killed for bringing this knowledge to the manifest. But, this is right in line with what we teach in the Moorish American government. So let me make sure that my screen shows, and we're going to go a little further into this. Let me see if there's anybody there trying to. Okay, we'll put our sister back up there. And Islam to the family in the chat, Brother Noble Brian and Sunlight Bay. That's a new person to come forth here. Praise be to Allah. Islamism. Goodness gracious. We bringing Kemet to y'all now. All right. So here we go right here. Let me get this demonstration shared, because we're going to open up the flow early tonight. It don't take long to tell the truth. We done spoke so much of it. Our family already got it anyway. So let me get up here and share this screen one more time. Okay. Because we know sometimes we think we be sharing something and we just be rambling on and we ain't shared nothing. This is a new measure I want to bring to the manifest so that our people have some clarity too. Because there's been a lot of going back and forth this whole month, with our family. This has struck a chord when we have been telling our family, that they have been misreading and misleading themselves, thinking that they were coming into a proper decipherment of the Medu. And this here finna remove all doubt, family. I'm gonna open this up real quick. Look at it first. You got two things in this slide right here. You got one that's supposed to be called their hieroglyphics. Notice it's not in abjad order, right? But then when you come over here, this is another set. And it says the alphabet of Champollion. And this is the champion of all famed Egyptologists, right? And in this alphabet, which most of y'all never seen, this is actually his first scripts of development when he started trying to put these things together. And if you notice, for the letter A, and these letters that he have here are what some people would like to call Greek, but we know it's really Hecopter. So we can see the abjad is also up here. A, B, and we know the K is interchangeable with G, and then the D is here, and the E interchangeable with the H. We see all of that right here on the manifest, right? But we actually see now what his script was corresponding to. We just had a class recently with our Moorish kin where we had them put symbols on the side of alphabets, and they chose whatever particular language they wanted to choose. Some chose the type of symbols they had, and they put them next to, a Hebrew transliteration. Some chose the Arabic, and they put symbols next to the Arabic. So we then had them give us the Arabic breaking down 7 words, or the Hebrew, whatever they chose, to break down 7 words with symbols based upon, their transliteration root, which was Arabic or Hebrew. And so when you pulled the symbols to the side, you find out the symbols didn't mean nothing. It was really about the word that was being transliterated. And that's the same thing that Champollion did here, because he didn't know hieratic, which were ancient papyri. He didn't know fully, even Hecopter. They say he was learning it, but he didn't know it fully. Demotic and all this type of stuff, right? And there was a competition that was going on between him and Thomas Young. But right here, you see, this is where he was guessing at the symbols that he would put in here. I told y'all. Y'all thought I just made this stuff up. And this is coming from the book of Thomas Young, too, by the way. Who was his opponent. You're going to see what he have to say about old Champollion. But anyway, you see a chick here. Is it a chick? A hawk. You got a goose. He had all types of birds up here. He even got the reed leaf, as they call it, or the eye and the arm. All of these measures, he was trying to find one of them to correspond, and he ended up choosing the hawk, so to speak. See, this is what I be telling you when I tell you these people came up with this stuff later on. But it's going to get crazy in a second when I really expose what happened. So here's another one. They saying that this is the letter B, and he got all of these symbols here with the head of a ram. He got a sheep over here, look like it. Then he has a leg, and it basically, eventually they chose one out of these particular letters. But if you went through all of these measures here, and there were more for them to go through, and they changed, well, let's just say they guessed at it and then chose what they want to choose, then how is it that you will accept that they are right and exact when it comes to so-called decipherment? That's the thought I want to ask our family before we get into how Prophet Noble Drew Ali has taught us how to deal with this mental matter. Because he did. This ain't nothing commission making up. I'm finna show it to you. And it's been right there in front of us the whole while. So right here in the next one, you see the same thing. He got, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This man got 11 pictures up here trying to deal with the letter, which actually would be G, which is also synonymous with the K in the sound shift. But he got all these letters up here trying to figure out and guess. See, that's what happened. It's one thing to be what you know, but another thing to be guessing at something. And this was all dealing with competition. So what it is, he chose, his symbols from these symbols that I'm mentioning. And then he really was dealing with a Greek script, as he called it. But it's really Hecopter. You see? And so this is what the people have been dealing with and don't even know it. Now you say, well, how do you know this, Brother Shaheed, that he was dealing with that and he wasn't dealing with the original text? So how this stuff all makes sense then? If that's the case, I'm going to show you right now. I'm finna show you in the works of Thomas Young, his opponent, that he also stole some ideas from. And I'm going to let you see it. Here you go, right here. For those who are watching and those who are hearing me. These are various registers here in what they call Greek that your guy Champollion, or the champion of the Europeans, so to speak, was dealing with. Oh, this ain't nothing. Y'all think this something. We're going to really pull them out here in a minute. There's another drawing up here that's very important and most noteworthy that our family pay attention to. You know, because it's finna get real ugly in a minute. Not for us, but for those who don't know no better. Now, here's what we have some Demotic. For those who don't know what Demotic is the script that came forth before the Coptic. And you see all these names up here, Ximenes, they got Ptolemaeus and all that. So we already know that's a red flag. What in the world is Ptolemy's name doing in a Demotic script when the Demotic script originated before him? We already know. You know, and look at the names now. Osiris, not Osar, but Osiris. You see, we know that's so-called Greek measures, right? That's what they say. We know Hecate is the real root, but we got to make the distinction because they try to use that to pull one over on us. They say Isis and Horus. They even got Cleopatra name up here. Oh, you say, now how in the world did they get that? Because these some of the words they were using, and these are the actual cartouches that they say they found with the names Ptolemy and Alexandria. See all this stuff here? And those who listening, if you hear me, you know good and well ain't no Alexander the Greek being talked about in no ancient Kemet. So you say, well, Brother Shahi, how did these things get on the cartouche? Then, you know, where did these things come from? All this Greek terminology, as they like to call it, so to speak, right? Because the source from whence Champollion got this from was created by the same people that created the Rosetta Stone. Oh my goodness. So if Ptolemy created a Rosetta Stone in 196 BC, that's years before Christ, they say, right? According to their dating. So you know that's way long after ancient Egypt. And then he comes later and also creates an obelisk, which is known as the obelisk of Philae. You see the obelisk, what they call the Washington Monument. You see it sticking up, the same thing. This obelisk was created by the Ptolemies. So if the Rosetta Stone was being used as a dictionary now to transliterate what was on that obelisk that was created by Ptolemies, how can you use this that was created later to decipher something that existed long before this was created? Uh-oh, they're in trouble now. They're in trouble now. You see? So we see how Champollion came up with his alphabet and his so-called quote-unquote decipherment, because they say he made a hypothetical cartouche and compared it to a Ptolemaic monument. And that monument ain't got nothing to do with ancient Kemet. But you gonna say he seen something on that and now he understand the whole language? Oh, y'all thought nobody was gonna find that out, did you? Y'all thought nobody was gonna pick up on that, didn't you? Y'all thought they had done got away with that, didn't you? Oh, it gets greater. It gets greater, family. This is very important that we give our family this drawing. Because if we don't do it, you know, ain't nobody else gonna do it. And this is why people have been so misled, misguided, and taken advantage of. Because they have been chasing after gods of whom they know nothing. And we done exposed the gods right here. Some of them that have been chased after, that the people don't know nothing about, outside of what they've been told. You see? Just give me a second here. This is very powerful. I got another measure right here. I'm going to open this up, coming from here. And this is very important. This is coming from Thomas Young, speaking on Champollion. And we finna get into the prophet, you know, who truly taught the Moors, you know, the proper way of dealing with this Medu Neter. This is a statement from Thomas Young, the opponent, of Champollion. He say, I'm therefore sorry to say that I cannot hitherto congratulate Mr. Champollion on the success of his attempts to carry his system of phonetic characters into the very remotest antiquity of Egypt. In other words, Thomas Young saying that what Champollion did, he don't agree with it. And he don't agree that it's a success of him attempting to try to take this so-called system of decipherment that he created by trying to decipher from Ptolemaic monuments the language of ancient Egypt. That's why he said his attempts to carry his system of phonetic characters into the very remotest antiquity of Egypt. He didn't agree with that. And then he got sarcastic with it. He said he appears, however, to have a better prospect of elucidating some of the Persian names, having, as he informs me, been able to identify that of Xerxes, both in the hieroglyphs and in the nail-headed characters by means of vase of alabaster on which both are found together. So Thomas Young, his peer and rival, didn't agree with him, and he let it be known. Ain't nowhere in the world this stuff you talking about go back to the remotest antiquity of Egypt. Champollion. So what I'm saying now was being said hundreds of years ago. But y'all think Kamisha made this stuff up, as they call me. Our brother Shahid made it up. You see? So watch this. Let's go into what the prophet taught. Now that we know that what they talking about ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about. I sent this lesson out to our family, and this will shed light on this lesson too as we go over it. And let me make sure that this is sharing too, by the way. Yeah, it looked like my screen sharing. Okay, yeah, so we good. It's shared. So I sent this out and I labeled it the Egyptian Adept Sabate, which is the wisdom teachings. It says, or the holy and divine destruction and instructions, concerning the Medu Neter of El Hajjat Shepsis Ray Abtu Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abtu Ali, our holy prophet. Signs and symbols of for conscious minds and men of understanding, men and women of understanding in all actuality. So all of the teachings that we have now, they don't even know the teachings of Kemet have never been canonized. When I say canonized, they have never been put in an order to where the books have been compiled, whereas in every other book, like you have surahs in the Grand Quran or chapters in the Bible, and they put them in there, the book of this and the book of that, Matthew, Mark, Luke, this order has never been placed on the manifest when it comes to Kemet. It's all over the place. We're going to see if we can do something about that in the future too. Because the Sabate teachings deal with some of the oldest papyri in the world, such as the teachings of Tahotep, the teachings of peace. Our chairman referred to this in the Book of Fire, the teachings of Hotep. You see? But in our Moorish Holy Quran, we find grand drawings. Now, coming from our master questions dealing with our Moorish Science Adept Questionnaire, we are asked the question, can Allah speak to man? And the answer is yes. How many ways does Allah speak to man? Now remember, Medu Neter is the language of God. It says, how many ways does Allah speak to man? In a still small voice he speaks, and he who speaks is still, or he who hears is still as well, right? It says, how do we look at the image of Allah who speaks within? By looking into the face of man, right? Everything in creation, though, was made in the image of Allah's thought. At the root of imagination, when we deal with our imagination, imagination has to do with some work of thinking. So if we look at everything around us, that has been made in the image of the Creator, these are all the same measures that were recorded in stone by the ancient Egyptians. So this is why you hear me keep saying over and over to read the book of creation, to look at the grand observatory, observe what is around you. This is true reading of Medu Neter. It ain't got nothing to do with the alphabet. It has all to do with observing Medu Neter. What does this have to do with what the prophet taught, though? We get now. It says, what is the other way Allah speaks to man? By the voice of man, not an oracle or an idol. Because we say Allah speaks to man through man, right? Now let's get into some of these different measures here. This is one, and depending on what Moorish Holy Quran you have, family, it'll be dealing with the difference in your chapter. You know, and we'll get into that as well. But know that this is coming from the meaning of silence and the wisdom of Allah, man, where we are right now. You know, and also, you know, there are different versions based on if you have the one in chronological order as opposed to an older Quran. We'll get into that later. So I just quote the chapter to the Moors who have their particular Moorish Holy Quran. So it says, fear not to uplift the sacred board. The tables of law are in the ark concealed. Take them and read them well, for they contain all the precepts that man will ever need. And in the ark, the magic wand, for they contain all prophecy, lies waiting for your hands. It is the key to all hidden meanings of the present, future, and past. The cherubim have guarded well for every soul this treasure box, and whosoever will may enter in and find his own. And that's exactly what is being demonstrated. I just spoke about the keys of civilization. So the prophet gave us the keys to be able to open or unlock these truths. And this has to do with, see, we have it right here within your ark concealed. There are the precepts of living. These are the teachings, are the Sabbath teachings, and we call them Sibagat as well. To be immersed in the divine wisdom of the great God Allah. That's within the self, unfolding by means of understanding the nature of his attributes. And if you understand the nature of creation and you read the book of creation, this is the real way of understanding Medu Neter. And this is the way that the prophet brought to us. Right here. It says, it is the key to all the hidden meanings of present, future, and past. That's called the book of Allah's registry of remembrance. So not only is those things that you come into a clear conception of what you can see outside of yourself, but it has to do with what you are able to come into as you go within the self. Remember, spirit man was given a soul that he may function upon the plane of soul. And we always emphasize that the soul itself is within the brain. So you got to be thinking, willing, reason, understanding, and remembering. You see? And then once you are able to tap into these things, you can bring them back to the plane of things made manifest, whole and intact. You see? Everyone has this ability. So it says the cherubim have guarded well for every soul its treasures. That represents the scimitar of consciousness that's constantly rotating. You see, and then you have seraphim representing the spirit of the mighty Allah, representing that star, them 5 principles in your consciousness. Oh, we talking about the Moorish flag right now. Goodness gracious. We talking about ensigns. And even a flag or ensign in ancient Kemet represented a god. Neter. Not alphabets. It represented the entity itself. So we have to understand that we're talking about people, persons, places, things. When you get into Medu Neter, there's a message that is hidden behind everything in creation. If you can look beyond beneath the surface level, this is how you truly decipher the language of God. But you have to listen to that silent voice that speaks within. You see, it said, and whosoever may enter in and find his own. So it's up to you. Silence is the key to understanding the wisdom of Allah that is already in man, the wisdom of God that is already in man. So here's another mention from our Moorish Holy Quran. And we're going to tell you this is coming from Yehoshua receiving the mystic name and number passing the first brotherhood test from our chapter. It says, the master said the Logos will give heed to what I say. No man can enter into light until he has found himself. Go forth and search till you have found your soul and then return. Then the guide led Yehoshua to a room in which the light was faint and mellow, like the light of early dawn. The chamber walls were marked with mystic signs, with hieroglyphs and sacred texts. And in the chamber, Yehoshua found himself alone, where he remained for many days. And he read the sacred texts and thought out the meanings of the hieroglyphs and sought the import of the master's charge to find himself. A revelation came and he got acquainted with his soul and he found himself and he was not alone. But yet again, as I emphasized last week, using the helm of repetition, he read the sacred text and he thought out the meaning of the hieroglyphs. You see? So the methodology of dealing with Medu Netta is thinking out the meaning, contemplating upon the meaning of what these symbols or this omnipotence being displayed before you is, or what it represents. This is how Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught us through this lesson, through our adept teaching, through the Moorish Holy Quran. Right here. If he didn't bring this to us, then who brought it? Oh yeah, we're going to make it plain today. Right? Now notice this is the first brotherhood test, too, by the way. Then it went on to another measure when you go into Yehoshua passing the third brotherhood test. Faith. Remember how I talked about moving, through the degrees, from 1, 2, 3, and then going forth to the 4, 5, 6, and then you got the seventh one there. It ain't strange the way that this measure come forth in the same science. And I didn't notice it until after I compiled it too. There are no strange happenings. Here's another measure confirming what I said. It says the Logos waited 7 days and then was taken to the Hall of Fame, a chamber rich in furnishings and lighted up with gold and silver lamps. The colors of its ceiling decoration, furnishings, and walls were blue and gold. Its shelves were filled with books of masterminds. The paintings and the statues were the works of the highest art. It says, and Yehoshua was entranced with all this elegance and these manifests of thought. And he read the sacred books and sought out the meaning of the symbols and the hieroglyphs again. So here we have it again. Yes, there are books there, just as there were texts there in the last particular measures that I read to you. But books of masterminds there. But when he came again to them hieroglyphs, he sought the meaning of the symbols by thinking and contemplate. This is why one is told to contemplate and meditate upon the great God. So meditation is the key to understanding Medu Netta. Meditation is the key to understanding the metaphysical teaching, or metaphysical exegesis. For those who don't know what exegesis means, it means to interpret something. It's bringing something that has been hidden into the manifest. That's the duty of a harbinger, to teach those things that have been hidden and manifest them. I mean, a hierophant, harbinger too, but a hierophant. That's the difference between an Egyptian hierophant and a mason or a shriner, because they are sworn to secrecy to keep these things hidden from you. You see, and that's where most of our opposition come from. So one moves up to the third brotherhood test here, dealing with faith. So we see that one is basically moved, from dealing with this first brotherhood test, where one deals actually with, coming into sincerity and then going into faith. And then we come here and it takes us up to the 6th degree. It says, in all the land, there was no place more greatly furnished than the beauty of the parlors of the temple of the sun. I just spoke to our family about the temple of the sun when we open up. This is the temple of Anu. This is where the high priest of Anu come from. Ianu, as they call it. This is called Heliopolis. This is where Matheno, the God-man, taught Yehoshua and John. It says, few students ever enter these rooms. The priests guarded them with awe and called them halls of mysteries. If you know the importance of this, you often hear me talk about the chemistry, the ministry and the mystery. This is going through those 3 different stages. When we come forth, those first 3 degrees help us master the physical. The next course of degrees deal with the mental. You see? And this is part and parcel of that right here. But then we go into that hall of mystery and we are able to unveil the mystery and know what my story is instead of the mystery, my story, instead of the history and his story. You see? So after this particular time, because there are many mysteries within the halls of a mint that are right above your neck in your chamber. This ain't got nothing to do with going into nobody's building, getting hit with haze paddles and, all types of other stuff that they do. Running around with a bunch of goats and carrying on. Ain't got nothing to do with that now. So it says the senior course of study was now open, and this is dealing with the Adept Chamber of the Dead. This is the 7th Adept degree. And Yehoshua entered and became a pupil of the Hierophant, and he learned the secrets of the mystic lore of Egypt land and the mysteries of life and death of the world beyond the circle of the sun. This is when one goes into that senior course. This is one reaches that realm of the 7th Adept degree and come into what we call Sefek Pankar. The circle 7, the Shanus effect. You see, this is Propheta. You see, when one get to this level, this is when deific will, through ties, man becomes one with his creator. He becomes what he knows. This is after going within the self, after the master's charge, the Hierophant's charge of teaching you to study yourself by reading the text in the book of creation, by going within the self. This is how you read Medu from this standpoint. This is how you decipher Medu by listening to the silent voice that speaks within. Because remember, Medu is the language of God. So how can you look to any man to teach you that? That's something that you can only learn from the great God Allah, just as that 7th Adept degree can only be given to you by the great God. He is the one that conferred that upon you. So anyway, it goes on. Now that we came through those special measures and we see what the prophet has taught about these hieroglyphics and how we should deal with them, now you know the Moorish way. So we can see truly Prophet Noble Drew Ali has indeed instructed the Moors in Medu right here in our Moorish Holy Quran. We have a measure here dealing with religion. Our chapter on religion. It says, he hath endued thee, pardon self, with reason, to maintain thy dominion. He hath fitted thee with language to improve thy society, and exalted thy mind with powers of meditation to contemplate and adore his inimitable perfections. There it is again. It's telling you that he has given us the tools now, not only giving us that which would fit us with a language to improve our society, because I said as we on the manifest, we have to have measures dealing with being here. But Allah's language is still more exalted than that. He don't speak to us through the spoken word that we use. You see, this is for our own upliftment and being able to learn and teach. You see, Allah don't even care nothing about the physical word when it comes to talking to him per se. You have to contact Allah by connection through that meditation. Because meditation, in all actuality, is that the unfoldment. Prayer's talking to him, but meditation is, listening to it. You see? It was stated in our Moorish Holy Quran, weak and ignorant as thou art, O man, humble as thou oughtest to be, O child of the dust. Wouldst thou raise thy thoughts to infinite wisdom? Wouldst thou see omnipotence displayed before thee? Contemplate thine frame. This is from the Holy Instruction, the Sabbath teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Sultanati, what we call Shedunetta. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Know that God is within you, but yet his omnipotence has been displayed before you. What is that omnipotence? What are you contemplating upon? To raise your thoughts to infinite wisdom are the Sabbath teachings of the Sebagat, is to be able to see the attributes of the great God Allah expressed through creation. And once you're able to see beyond that, you can also see the mathematics and the sacred geometry that is laying dormant, so to speak, beyond that in which human eye can see on the plane of things made manifest. Can you see it? No. Not with the corner eye, you can't. It's strong. And so, and we'll just read this right here, because this is a very important portion in one of our chapters in the Moorish Holy Quran, where there was a response being given to Barata Rabo, because we're going to open the floor up, in a second here. It says, from Allah's own record book, we read. Now, I want y'all to think about reading the book of creation and understanding that everything is a thought of Allah made manifest in the flesh and manifest, in the plane of soul, and manifest, in every plane where the ethers vibrate. It says, the triune Allah breathed forth and stood 7 spirits before his face. The Hebrews called these 7 spirits Elohim, and these are they who in their boundless power created everything that is or was. These spirits of the triune Allah moved on the face of the boundless space, and 7 others ethers were, and every other had its form, or ether, right? It says these forms of life were but the thought of Allah, clothed in the substance of their ether planes. See, the forms of life that you see written in the Medu that are written around you in the book of creation, these are all thoughts of Allah clothed in the substance of their ether planes. So to truly understand how to read, these special expressions from a metaphysical standpoint, you have to see these things ethereally. It says men call these ether planes the planes of protoplasm, of earth, of plant, of beast, of man, of angel, of cherubim. These are your 7 ether planes, going right in line with the creation as everything matters. A lot of people don't know protoplasm means first form. Protoplasm represents atom, or atom in ancient Kemet. And we can go through the whole measure with this here. But if you think about the protoplasm, you think about the earth, the plant, the beast, the man, the angel, and cherubim. Are not these the expressions that you have seen commonly written within the walls of ancient Kemet? It says these planes with their teeming thoughts of Allah are never seen by eyes of man in flesh. They are composed of substance far too fine for the fleshly eyes to see. And still they constitute the soul of things, part self. It says, and with the eyes of soul, all creatures see these ether planes and all forms of life. So in order for you to see the true meaning in reference to dealing with the ether planes and be able to listen to the silent voice of the great God that speak within, you can't see with the eyes of flesh. You have to see with the eyes of soul. And therefore, you can truly observe the measure and get the message. It says, because all forms of life on every plane of thought are thoughts of Allah, right? All creatures think, and every creature is possessed of will, and in its measure has the power to choose. And in their native planes, all creatures are supplied with nourishment from their ether planes. And so it was with every living thing until the will became a sluggish will, and then the ethers of protoplasm, the earth, plant, the beast, and man began to vibrate very slow. That means that we lost touch with divinity. And so we could no longer see that divinity as omnipotence displayed before us, and we began to worship gods that are lower than the whale's turd, so to speak. It says the ethers all became more dense, and all the creatures of these planes were clothed with coarser garbs of flesh, which men can see, and thus this coarser manifest, which men call physical, appeared. And this is what is called the fall of man. But man fell not alone. It says, for protoplasm, earth, and plant and beast were all included in the fall. Why? Because man was the highest in creation. So if he fell in his vibration, creation falls with him. If creation is on high, then that means man has to be elevated in his thought. A lot of what you're seeing going on around us with creation now is a result of the vibration of man falling from the heights of divinity. That's why it took one to come to us known as Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who was in a higher state. Ali meaning the most high, again, amongst us to lift us up. That's why we are told that wisdom speaks from out of the highest plane of spirit life. Medu, right? The language of God. It says, the angels and the cherubim fell not, their wills were ever strong. It says, and so they held the ethers of their plane in harmony with Allah. And now when the ether reached the rate of atmosphere, and all the creatures of these planes must get their food from the atmosphere, the conflict came, and that which the finite man called survival of the best became the law. And that's what got our people distracted right now. It says the stronger ate the bodies of the weaker manifest, and there's here what we call the corner law of evolution had its rise. And now man in his utter shamelessness strike down and eats beast. The beast consumes the plant, and the plant thrives on the earth, and the earth absorbs the protoplasm. And yonder in the kingdom of the soul, this corner evolution is not known, and the great work of masterminds is to restore the heritage of man, to bring him back to his estate that he had lost when he again will live upon the ethers of his native plane. So this is the real key of listening to the silent voice of God that speak within, or observing Medu, so that you go back to your source. If it ain't doing that, it don't make no difference what you're trying to decipher. The thoughts of Allah change not. The manifest of life on every plane unfold into perfection of their kind, as the thought of Allah can never die. There is no death to any being of the seven ethers or the seven spirits of the triune Allah. Have you transliterated that yet? Have you deciphered that yet? Oh, you European loving individuals, you. It says, and so an earth is never plant, beast, bird, or creeping thing. It says never man, and man is not and cannot be beast or bird and creeping thing. The time will come when all these seven manifests will be absorbed, and man and beast and plant and the earth and protoplasm will be redeemed. That's called the Asarian resurrection in the teachings of Kemet. You see? So this is what I close out with and open up the floor with here. In support of what I just stated, there's a measure in the Grand Quran, Surah 42, Ayat 51. It said, it's not given to any human being that Allah should speak to him except through revelation or from behind a veil, or that a messenger or angel be sent to him who reveals to him by Allah's leave whatever he wishes. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was that angel that was sent to us. He is Allah, all high and most wise. Do you know the word Al-Ali is used right here? Because that's one of the attributes of Allah. al-ali is used there, right? So anyway, if it's saying that it's not given to any human being that Allah should speak to him except through revelation or from behind the veil, this is talking about either revealing something to you by you observing or from behind the veil. That means the things that you can see are by sending a messenger or an angel. All of this has to do with the way in which Allah speaks to man, through creation or through man. And so in conclusion, the grand drawing is really based upon us having a knowledge of the fact of how we are spoken to, and then we have a clear conception of what Medu is, what the language of God is, as opposed to the language of a mere man. So let us come up out of that human knowledge and come into this knowledge of self. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. So at this time, what we want to do, we want to open up the floor for our Moorish kin. And say *6 your phones to the Moors that are on the conference call. And also those who are on the line, you are welcome to come forth as well. Whoever come forth, we will open it up so that you can give the teaching to your people. And those who are on the line, we ask that you speak with clarity through the phone so we can make sure the people hear this. Islam. *6 your phone, Moors. Anyone that has, anything they would like to say. He read the sacred text and thought out the meanings of the hieroglyphs and sought the import of the master's charge to find himself. Did Prophet Noble Drew Ali instruct the Moors, in how to read the Medu? Islam, that brother Marvin Evers Bay?
Islam, yeah, it is. My screen just blanked out, so I'm trying to bring it back up and I could be online. But yes, my name is Dr. Marvin Evers Bay, Consul General of the Texas Consulate, rising, giving all praise to the great God Allah, giving the highest honors to his prophet, our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Give high honors to our theocratic government, our Morris American government. Give high honors to our Act 1. I give high honors to all of our officials. I give honors to this class, our Morris Prospectus class. As well as I give honors to you, Dr. Shadu Amenti Al-Mohit the Committee and the Deb Hierophant, National Assistant Grand Sheik of Morris America, for hosting this class and instructing us along our journey. As well, I give honors to all those that aided in bringing forth this class this evening. I give honors to everything that is Moorish, our flag, our seal, our emblem, our divine constitution, our holy Quran, our book of Ali, our 101 and 102, like Zuman of the Nation. All of our divine revelations, I give honor. I give honors to the forerunner, Dr. Marcus Mose Garvey L. As well as I give honors to our ancestors, whose shoulders we stand upon. Very powerful class. And I was reading along in the different chapters that you was bringing on the manifest, because this is actually part of our homework in the year's class. He read the sacred texts, thought out the meanings of the hieroglyphs, and sought the import of the master charge to find himself. And I can recall when I first read this, when I first came into the government, it was really beyond my comprehension. I'll put it like that. But having studied these lessons often, and having gone through them in our Morris American government, my understanding has grown. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I'm just turning you up, brother, so they can hear you on the conference call.
Okay, well, okay. I just what I did was I turned, because I got it on the phone. I was turning it down. Okay.
But we hear you. We hear you loud and clear.
Gratitude. Getting back to where I left off. So as I continue to read these sacred texts that the prophet brought us, And he brought us everything to save us as a people, as a nation, as a government at this time. And we have to take it and save ourselves. And this is exactly what our Swift Angel number one, Dr. Akhenaten Ruth Tutankhamun Bey, our National Grand Chairman did. And this is why we have a Moorish American government. This is why, and I appreciate all that you do in reaching out, you know what I mean? Because you continually, you know, and you are tireless at this, and you are inspirational to myself. And I'm sure, as well as many of the Moors, if not all of the Moors. And so, you know, and just as he was instructed to read the sacred text, you know, this is what we're doing. This is what the prophet brought us with the sacred text, you know, and it brings us to a level to where we can look at creation, because this is what the Metaneter is, you know what I mean, the language of God, you know what I mean, language of the Creator, and so when we look at the creation, you know what I mean, if our understanding has grown to a level that we can appreciate, you know what I mean, God's work in creation, you know what I mean, we can decipher what it is that we see. You know what I mean? As we look at the birds, you know, you see how Allah has had the thought. They are a thought. Everything that we see is a thought of the great God. You know, even when it comes to man and through his manifestation, you know what I mean? It is Allah's thought processes that will allow him to do that. And just as our ancestors taught the world, they civilized the world. You know what I mean? And it was through their constant study, you know, of themselves. You know, like on the sacred temples. You know what I mean? The first thing that you would see to study yourself, Sutan Noti. You know what I mean? So this is what we're doing constantly, studying ourselves. And you know, when you talk about the European and how he went in and remixed everything, we know that the European is not requisite to our freedom, to our understanding, to our knowledge. You know what I mean? But we have to go through a process of unmixing. That is when we are talking to our people. Because just as I was, just as many of our Moors here, all of us at one time was caught up into the remix. You know what I mean? Caught up into the burying. We were buried as a people. But the prophet, and I say praise Allah for sending us a prophet, bringing these teachings to us so that we may raise ourselves up. You know what I mean? And become men and women. You know what I mean? Because we have a nationality. You know what I mean? We have a national name. We are Moorish Americans. And all of our people that's out there that haven't made it to the Moorish American government, we are the same. You know what I mean? Not to make any distinction. It's just that it's all in their consciousness. That is Allah. So our consciousness has to be brought to a level to where we can understand what we will put here on this earth, on this manifest for. We will put here to build the temple of perfect man. You know what I mean? And we do that through studying the self, and we have to have the teachings because they have been mixed up and turned upside down and around. You know what I mean? So we have to have one that's giving us the truth. We have to have the truth. And I'm so grateful for being here in this Moorish American government, receiving these teachings and studying on a constant. You know what I mean? Continually assessing where I'm at along the way, along that journey. You know? And so, yeah, you said some powerful things. Very powerful wisdom. And I don't want to hold the class up because, you know, as I study myself, you know, it is infinite within, just as it is without. And so I'm going to say gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
And gratitude to you as well, Grand Man. We can't wait, brother, for that grand drawing. You know that you have to bring on the manifest as well tomorrow. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. All right. Well, Islam. All right. Okay, we got one of our Moors on the conference call. Islam, Moor.
Islam. It's Dr. Lari Bay, South Carolina Consulate. I rise to give praise to great God Allah. Give honor to the Prophet Noble Ali. Give honor to our theocratic Moorish American government. I give honor to official of our government. Give a special honor to the citizens. Give a special honor to you, National Assistant Grand Chief, for putting on a grand demonstration. Powerful measure. Give honor to all the Moors before me, to all the Moors who will speak after me. Islam. Give honor to our families that's streaming live, that listen to our conference call. Peace and love. We love you as well. Islam. And the Prophet did teach us to read Medu. Because as Moors stated, he told us to go within ourselves. And you see on the walls of the temples in Kemet, it says, Sultan Nosi, know thyself. But once you know thyself, then you can begin to know the great God of the universe. And our Moors question is, he asks, first question, who made you? Great God Allah. Who is he? Who is Allah? He's the Father of the universe. Where's the nearest place to meet him? Answer, in the heart. So that heart, we're talking about not the blood pumping heart, but the soul. And he tells us that, one of the swing wide open door of the soul, that he found the house of Allah. In the Grand Cloud of Mecca, he said that nearest place to meet Allah is in the heart. You see? So we carry around the nearest place to meet the great God Allah within the soul. And it's important that we notice that soul, that seventh chakra, the crown chakra. You see? And so the Europeans, we the one cloned them, brought them here 6,000 years ago, and they wasn't part of written creation. So our ancestors couldn't give them that center or that soul, so they can see through the eyes of soul. They be teaching past, the physical plane here. The carnal eyes can't comprehend things that are infinite. So if we are infinite people, we part of written creation, and through the enslavement, we was took our nationality, divine creed, divine history, and became subjugated by one of Pell's command that we brought here. It's not speaking to knock or the rocks of them, but we just teaching the truth. You see, so we able to go within ourselves, study ourselves, purify our heart and mind with love, raise our thoughts to infinite wisdom, cross the borderline from matter back into divinity. The divine self tapped to the ether of our native plane, the spiritual plane. Thus we able to read Medu, read creation. Europeans can't do that. They never can. They never will. Because their will is not linked to the will of the great God of the universe. We are divine people coming from divine source. So with that, I say Islam, peace, gratitude, and grand class.
Islam. And peace and gratitude to you as well. And we want to give honors to our brothers, and sisters who may be watching us as well. We see our beloved family, the Conscious Conqueror, is also on here. Our beloved brother say that's correct. The Rosetta Stone was made in the Hellenistic period. We got our brother Mario Yeshua forever. Honors to you, family. Shalom, Shabbat Alahayim. And also Ephraim El Yasin Bey. We give honors to you, brother, Islam. And also Marquis Selassie Ross Bey, honors to you as well. And our new kin, Volta. Peace to you as well, family. Indeed, nationality is the order of the day. Gratitude. All right. Is there any other more who would like to come forth and give their portion on the panel or the line? *6 your phone. Islam. Brother Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey, what have you to say, General?
Islam and gratitude, Grand Nan. Islam, yes, I am Dr. Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey of the South Carolina Consulate. First, let me rise in praise of our Father God, Allah, who is the best known arranger of all things. I give highest honors to our Prophet Noble Ali, who is the last prophet of this new era of time now. He is the seventh manifestation in divine flesh, the seventh angel,
El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali, much love, honor, and respect to you, National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America. Gratitude, God, man, for your uncompromising love and your efforts to bring forth this divine truth to our people. I want to give honors to the listening audience also. I give honors to Act 1 of our divine constitution and bylaws. I give honors to our grand national seal, our grand national emblem, and our grand national flag. I give honors to this theocratic government in which we all live and can live. I give honors to Marcus Mosiah Garvey L., who is the forerunner to our beloved prophet Noble Drew Ali. And I give honors to everyone, absolutely everyone, on this national conference call and live stream presentation this evening. And I give honors to those that spoke before me and those that will speak after me. Grand demonstration as always, brother. And, won't be too long, in listening, and actually coming from that ayah where it talks about him studying. That was the thing that really sticks out with me, especially when it comes to us as a people, talking about the melanated, sun-kissed Asiatic people of the planet, everywhere. Everywhere you find the melanated, sun-kissed Asiatic people, we are all of one nation. So this thing about studying, the emphasis, family, is on. As the scripture says, we must seek the truth. We must ask about the truth. And we must knock on the doors wherever they may be in search of the truth. Because what does it say? It says the truth that will set us free. The question is, what is our purpose here on the planet? Are we just here to live our lives every day? I know everyone at some point and some time asked themselves that question. And our ancestors wrote over the universities, our Cometian ancestors that the Europeans called Egyptians, over their universities, they wrote in the Medu Netter, see at the naughty, know thyself. We cannot know thyself. I cannot know who I am, what my purpose is, unless I'm studying myself. And yes, beyond the shadow of a doubt, the beloved prophet Noble Drew Ali did teach us and bring to us the Medu Netter. He did it in a divine aspect because he knows that many of us did not know how to read it. We had no knowledge of it. He brought it to us in a communication aspect that we could understand. English. But if you go and research like the class is all about, study the scriptures, study the divine teachings, because truth is universal, and you will find that everything that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us deals with the Medu Netter, which is the language of God and universal truth. So this is what I got from this class. Divine instructions from our Father God Allah through his holy prophet, our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, that we must study the truth. And once we do that, we'll begin to find that we are the truth. And we can begin to be that truth and share that truth with our brothers and our sisters that have not yet been exposed to it as you're doing tonight. Islam and gratitude. Thanks for letting me share, Grammy. And grand demonstration. Peace and love.
Yes, sir. Gratitude, peace, and love. Uncle Ajet Sanel, brother. Islamism without the schism. All right. We see our brother Conscious Conqueror as coming. Go ahead, brother Larry L. And we want to get to the guests and see what our guests would have to say once you're done. Islam.
Islam. Gratitude to you, Angel. Islam. This is Brother Larry L., Oklahoma Territory, Morris, America. We want to rise first and give praise to the great God of the universe, Allah, Anata, Angel, El Ha, Sharif, Abdul Ali, Baba Duty, El Hedges, Raya, Abdul Ali, Noble Drew Ali, giving out once again to our Morris America Democratic Government, and giving out of Act 1 and all the citizens of Morris America, giving out to you, National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedu, Amiti, El Hedges, Suel, for this grand Morris perspective, Angel, Islam, and when it comes to understanding and knowing the Medu Netter, as well as understanding one's purpose of being here. Grand man, we want to give honor to you for this grand drawing. When I think about the Medu Netter, grand man, I think about the language of the great God, that was coming to us through when we really think about it in ancient times in relation to the Medu Netter, the way that Allah or Ra allowed Tahuti or the thought to record. And we know that this is our prophet come again. Basically, that angel, that thought activity, that divine thought, that love thought that came, that our divine instructions contained in this circle of the Quran that have been divinely prepared by our prophet Noble Drew Ali under the supreme guidance of our Father God, Allah, the great God of the universe, to bring us back to the highest plane of spirit life and make us conscious of gross national product of wisdom. Us being one with the great God of the universe. This is the Medu Netter in this time, especially looking at our 7 death degrees, the degree that we in today in the chapter of sincerity. When our prophet basically went and studied the Medu Netter, when he went into Kemet as a demasterized NBC, but came back as an angel, a God, a prophet, and our warner, basically sent divinely and prepared in due time to bring us back this language. And when it comes to our purpose, we as NBC didn't understand our purpose when we was in our dead state or unconscious state, but the prophet brought this consciousness back to us through our Circle 7 Quran and the divine footprints that he left in Islamism through our divine creed, which is known as the Shedu Netter or the Salty Naughty, Know Thyself, and the Father God Allah, as well as the Shedu Netter, which is Islamism. The ancient Egyptian mystery system, because this is what gives us the knowledge of ourselves and let us know that our purpose here is basically to build the temple of perfected man, and made us aware that we have come fully equipped with the tools that we need in order to build our spiritual temple, because our prophet let us know in the 5 folds that weak and ignorant as thou art, old man, and he let us know also that from the womb of our mother we inherited instability and things like this. You are from the womb of your mother, Varus and wavering from the loins of your father, inherited now instability. Then he asked us, how shall we be firm? And he was to let us know that we can be firm by establishing the firmness of the mind. And in this chapter of sincerity, the Herald told Yahushua or Noble Drew Ali to go find his soul, because without his soul he couldn't enter into the light. And we know that we can identify the soul, and we identify this through the actions of the soul, which is our mind, which is our thinking, reasoning, willing, understanding, and remembrance. But we got to remember that first master question of who made us, because this is what sets our soul on fire with love and holy zeal. And like it says, the soul remains perfect even in the bosom of a fool, but yet it's still the prophet say don't play the fool by halves. So at the end of the day, we got to understand who made us, and we got to understand we have 2 selves, but we got to understand that the Lord self is only a reflection. That's not the true self. But man got to be himself, the truth. The prophet was the embodiment of truth. So when we imitate the prophet in thought, words, and deeds, and understand the instructions that he gave us in order to build the temple of perfected man, this allow us to use the tools that we handle in the workshop of the mind when things are made a thought of what we build up character in order to understand our purpose of being here and building that spiritual temple that allow us to activate the flesh divine. So gratitude for the class, Angel. It's a grand thought when we think about the Medu Netter and how it relates to us as being children of the great God of the universe, understanding our divine origin of the Asiatic nations and our divine and holy covenant and everything that golden cord of love that connects us. So gratitude for the class with Angel, and gratitude for letting me speak. Islam and peace.
Gratitude and Islam and peace. Family, we give honors to you for that grand drawing, Brother Larry L. Islam. Okay. So yeah, we want to hear from our guest here, Brother Conscious Conqueror. Islam,
Peace.
family, peace and love, shalom, shalom, all of that.
Shalom, shalom. You can hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you, brother.
Oh, peace. Um, Good night, everyone. I'm not a more. I'm more of a truth seeker, a seeker of knowledge. Um, Thanks for having me on the show. I'm also from Trinidad. If you want to figure out the accent, I'm from the Caribbean. So peace. Why I'm here really? Is it okay to ask questions, or
Yeah.
is it okay? What brought me to your YouTube channel is because I saw you on Sanetta, and is what you said, how you're here to teach people, and I like that because I'm a seeker of knowledge, and I like how you're willing to teach and people could ask questions. So don't hope you don't mind if I just come and just ask some questions, if it's okay.
Oh
Um,
yeah, brother. Yeah, you all right? Go ahead. As long as you ready
right.
for the answer, I'm good.
I love it, man. And I don't mind being wrong. Don't mind I have a very. It sounds like a powerful name, but I'm just a humble person looking for knowledge. Um, so you're saying that the hieratic, right? You're saying that came before hieroglyphs. Is that right?
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right. But according to mainstream science, it's the hieroglyphs before the hieratic.
Yeah, according to mainstream science, that's what they say, but according to my research, we
Right.
actually have debunked that if you go back to the oldest paper. Go ahead, brother.
All right. I was just very curious because I think you're the only person I have heard in the conscious community. Well, maybe I just didn't look enough, but you're the first person I heard saying this. So it fed my curiosity, So I just want to find out, like, how did you come across to even think of that or discover or to figure out that?
Well, doing research, I myself too had what a lot of people probably had when they came into the teachings of what we call Kemet, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, over 20, some odd years ago, right at 30, to be honest with you. And I
Right.
was like everybody else. I was trying to decipher symbols and everything, all the way up till even a few years ago. And as I
Mm,
began to do my research, I found that symbols were never taught to be deciphered by our ancestors. That this came from a Ptolemaic position. For example, the Rosetta Stone came straight from Ptolemy. It was created by Ptolemy. And not only was the
mm,
Rosetta Stone created by the Ptolemies during the Hellenistic times prior to him, as well, these things were also known to be evident. But when you go into dealing with later, you have what you call the Pale temple, because it's like 5 temples that the Ptolemies put together. And then you notice that the Rosetta Stone,
okay.
which was used as a dictionary, was used to translate from another Ptolemaic monument. And this is where we know that this didn't have nothing to do with ancient Kemet. And so that, along with our brother Walter Williams and Mustafa Gadala, who was a native born Egyptian, and my own research made me come to that conclusion. And I've been doing research in that area ever since.
Right. Walter Williams also agrees. Was he one of the first people to start with that statement. He was the first one to really say that it was never deciphered, right?
Well, him and Mustafa Gadala, they really running neck and neck, to be honest with you. Because Mustafa Gadala, his scholarship been on the manifest a long time. And I encourage you to look at some of his books, and you can hear him speak on YouTube as well. But both of them, Mustafa Gadala gave the more detail of where the Europeans, all the papyri that they had, a lot of the hieratic papyri. That's what caused me to investigate more of that. But also the brother emphasized a lot on how they used the symbols to bury the hieratic in the original alphabet of Egypt, and how the symbols were meant to be understood metaphysically. Also, I read the works of Horapollo and Carimon, those who were teaching before Champollion so-called decipherment, And they also taught that these things were meant to be understood metaphysically and not as alphabet.
Because I found it was very powerful what you said when they're trying to translate the hieroglyphs into letters. It takes away the power of the hieroglyphs.
That's
So this
right.
one was very powerful. Powerful. I agree with that because it must have deeper meaning than our way of writing language down with just letters. A symbol like we say in modern times, a picture has 1,000 words. So it
That's
makes
right.
total sense. Um,
Yes.
okay. So do you think is there any way to decipher the hieroglyphs right now?
Well, that's what we were speaking about in this class. The only
Right.
aspect of the decipherment, as they would call it, is really looking into nature itself. And why we say this, for example, we know Atum, for example, in ancient Kemet represent the first created or firstborn, Atum. Well, in modern
Right.
science, they speak of atom, the
Mm,
atom that comes forth in creation. So this concept existed in Kemet before it
mm,
became adopted in modern science. Like in our Moorish Holy Quran, we say protoplast, and protoplast is also in reference to that atom or the first form of life at its elemental state. And so, just as
mm,
we are able to tap into the knowledge of the atom and have vast understanding of it, but we can go back to the ancestors and see that they have a vast interpretation just under the name Atum, because it doesn't just mean self creation, it actually has to do with one being the creator of the Netaru, coming forth with all things into existence and coming out of existence, being the first to emerge out of the celestial now. So there's a grand drawing in just dealing with that. And so you see
mm.
how we can give a vast interpretation just by that, as opposed to saying, oh, well, this represents the letter A, and that's it. You
Right.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. Just forgive if I might ask a silly question. I was listening to the show on and off, so forgive me. Like the word you said netaru and neta, right?
That's right.
How you figure out that word neta if it wasn't deciphered yet? I might be a silly question, but yeah.
Oh, no, not a silly question at all, because
Right.
netter, if you go and look up the word, netter is not spelled out in an alphabetical way. They would call that a determinative, right?
Right.
And the determinative expression is what we call, a lot of people don't know, determinative expressions are really indicators. So this
Mm.
sign for netter is normally a flag, an ensign. They call it the ayat netter. Like the word
Mm.
ayat in Arabic actually comes from the word ayat in Egypt. So
Mm.
netter is a sign, expression, so to speak, that goes into dealing with nature itself. But
Mm.
netter can be found in the hieratic papyrus. And a lot of people don't
Right.
know a lot of the transliteration is coming from hieratic, but they covered this up with the
Mm.
symbols. So that's how we coming up with
Mm.
the words. You see what I'm saying?
I know grasp because right because according to your forgive me if I say theory or thesis, right? I know
Mhm.
to you it's the truth. But I'll just say theory for argument's sake, right? So
All is
according
well.
to your right all as well. According to your thesis or theory, the hieratic was first. So in other words, and that the hieratic has been deciphered. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, there is
Right.
hieratic out there, but there's
Right.
still a further measure that has to be demonstrated according to us, and that's what we're working
Okay.
on now. Because we have heard everybody else's take on it, so we're working on our own hieratic dictionary, and we will get into some of this papyri as well.
Right. It's just the hieroglyphs have not been deciphered. Is just
That's right.
okay. Right,
That's
I
right.
understand. Okay.
You
And you were
if
saying it was re-engineered. Correct. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Sorry. What you said?
Yeah, reverse engineered is the terminology, which has to do with
Right.
stealing somebody else's intellectual property. And the best
Right.
way to explain it is that, like I say, metal netta is symbols that really represent life forms that are all around you. So if you read
Mm.
the book of creation, you can better understand metal netta. If you study creation, you can actually come up with grand degrees of science, being able to cure yourself, heal yourself, understanding
Mm.
mathematical equations that will lead to, the building of greater civilizations and greater science. See, when you understand Medu Neter from this standpoint, you going way beyond just saying, well, that arm represent a letter A, that mouth represent a letter R. This letter here represent the letter Y. You know what I mean? It's more superior when you read the book of creation of Medu Neter, Islam.
That book is called what? The Book of Create. Sorry,
The
what is the
book
name
of
of the book?
creation. The book of
Book of
creation, and
Creation.
I'm talking about the literal book of creation, your observatory, what you look at around
Oh,
you.
sorry. Right.
Yes, sir. So we make it
Nature or
practical.
Neta, right.
That's right, and that takes it out of being a theory then.
Facts. Right. I like your teachings, man. I like your teachings. I'm surprised a lot of people not being urged to come and listen to your knowledge. I mean, because it's different. And if you really want to know the truth, you have to challenge. You have to challenge it to see if it's the truth or not. And so
Right.
that's why I'm just curious to hear your side of it. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because how can you really those, as you said, the Rosetta Stone, they said it's supposed to be dated around 400 BC, around the Hellenistic period, the time of Ptolemy, and that's why it's you can't trust that decipherment because it was in the time of the oppressors, and or as you better word it, it can't that can't be correct because Alexander already, or the Syrians or the Persians already conquered Egypt, so that's not a trusted source then. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, there's a side question about, I was talking about Egypt. What are your thoughts about who built the Great Pyramid
Well,
and
that's
the age of it? Yeah.
that's good key that you asked to answer that question, brother. I asked it, pardon self.
Hmm.
We actually had a record of the oldest papyri,
Hmm.
being written in the diary of Miriam. And
Hmm.
Miriam composed that diary dealing with being a laborer of the pyramids, and he had the stones being moved and how they was being moved. So this was written in hieratic, which is
Hmm.
older basically than the pyramid itself, if it's talking about the building of the pyramids. So
Hmm.
this diary is known as the Red Sea Scroll, and they are
Right.
playing off the Dead Sea Scroll. It's called the Khufu Papyri as well because it is said that he was doing this under the directions of Khufu.
Hmm.
Now we have what I would say is this. Tehuti is said to actually be the first builder of the pyramid, according to certain records. And
Hmm.
I would say, according to our calendar, the pyramid is older than the time that they are saying, but the present Great Pyramid would actually be at that time of Mereri was maybe a what you call a renovation process more of
Right.
anything. Building something
Ah.
that was already there, which is something that Ptolemy them did a lot. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They renovated temples and built like 5 temples on top of original Egyptian temple sites.
Yes, that has been proven with the videos I see on YouTube with Muhammad Ibrahim. They show people that they're building. Some of the pyramids are built over older structures underneath.
That's right. Yes,
Hmm.
sir.
So so okay, so you agree that Khufu probably just fixed it over. What the word you use? Sorry, renovated it, right?
Yeah, because of the time period and knowing they've been there longer than that.
Right.
Yes,
So
sir.
what do you think about like how they built it? Do you think like what tools do you think they used to build it? Just I mean, that's a question. I don't know. I don't know if you have an
Well,
answer for that. No.
yeah, tools evolve,
Right.
over time, you know,
Right. Right.
but some of the same type of tools we have now evolved for some of the tools they had then. But I would
Right.
say a lot of the pyramids in their original measure of being built, they were actually
Mm.
carved first as step pyramids, And then those things they carved out, they placed on each level. And that's why if you go into inside of a pyramid doesn't look perfectly cut as stone. It looks just as a mountain would look, with pegs and everything hanging inside. So I would say they were carved structures, just as the Abu symbol was carved out of a mountain. And later on, then they start dealing with the building of things from a base and on up. That's why the pyramids haven't moved yet, because they are attached to the earth itself. That's just, what I would say.
Oh, okay. And I know that's interesting because there is a pyramid that they discovered in Bosnia that is a mountain. They always thought it was a mountain, but they discovered it has perfectly geometric shapes, and it apparently is the largest pyramid they discovered recently. I forget the doctor's name, Doctor something. I forget his name. He's a European doctor. That's interesting. It says like a mountain. All right. I mean, I ain't go take too much of your time. Thanks for answering the questions. I love the fact you're willing to have a dialogue. I appreciate all the answers. And well, good night to everyone. Peace to everybody. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Peace and love, brother. Don't be a stranger, because we'll be live all the time. And
Oh no, all right.
yes, sir. You welcome here. My casa, su casa, as they would say.
Mi casa
Yes,
es
sir.
su casa.
Yes, sir. And
All right, commission.
peace and love, family.
Peace and love,
Yeah.
peace and love. I will come in every time you have a live show. I'll take a listen.
Yes, sir. Gratitude, family.
Okay.
Yeah, and welcome. And yeah, family, too, in closing, because we know we got to go to our officials now. There's another measure too in reference to dealing with the root M and R. And it deals with the pyramid of Amen. M and R is the root of the pyramid. But if you go into the etymology of this M and R root in Wikipedia, they give you all the roots to it, and it actually mentions mountains. It mentions stone piles. And this is just going through the different languages. And if you go there, that's showing you that mountains have always been sacred to a people. That's why they say Mount Meru. That's why they speak of Mount Hira, Mount Moriah. These places, mountains were always sacred to prophets and God men. And so it wouldn't be strange that one would say, all right, well, we're going to spruce these mountains up a little bit. That's why cities like Petra, that they didn't finish carving out yet, you see, man, whole figures of people up there, big Buddhist mountains where people have been carved in them. And so these are things to look at just for our family. We give honors to that brother, though. Praise be to Allah. So at this time, what we're going to do, we're going to open up the floor to our officials. This has been a powerful class in Islamism without the schism. So let us call for first our beloved goddess and queen, Sister Offset Moon El of the Ra Moon El tribe. And also come forth, sister, if you will, as we go to closing out this demonstration. Sister Offset Moon El, are you there? Okay, well, we know the sister about our Father God Allah's business. Well, at this time, we know our Grand Mufti is also on a mission, as said the God woman. So we're going to go straight to our Grand National Secretary of State. That give her more time to chime in with the divine. Islamism without the schism, God woman. You ready? Islam.
Can you hear me more?
Oh, we can hear you loud and clear with divine ears.
Praise Allah. Islam Moorish, first of all, want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah. Giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Ali, the last prophet in these days and times. Giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, of angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish guests. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Grand Secretary of South Carolina, Dr. Dendra Nia Kurtabay, for opening our meeting according to law. Also to our National Grand Secretary, Indiana,
Dr. Sayanasi Nketulu L for taking registration and reading our subject chapters for the week. Give it a special honor to you, Dr. Shedu Amenti and Moheddin Shepsuel for this grand Moorish Perspectives class tonight. This has been a very powerful meeting, and I wanted to give much honor to all of our family online. It's indeed a blessing and an honor to be able to hear the questions and also receive the answers, because in essence we are one family. You know, we're all children of the one great God. When we look at the subject matter coming from Ayat 9, he read the sacred text, sought out the meanings of the hieroglyphs, and sought the import of the master's charge to find himself. And the master question on the floor: did Prophet Noble Jurali instruct the Moors in Medu? This, I tell you, much gratitude to you, Dr. Shahi, again, because you make it plain and also go back to our foundation in reference to the holy and divine instructions that our Prophet Noble Jurali brought to us. And they say you don't want more. Don't think it if you don't want more to know it. So I had written down on my paper the contemplation, meditation, and being able to still the self. I can recall when we look at the word import, this was a special charge given to Yehoshua to, in essence, seek out the meaning of the sacred text, seek out the meaning of the special hieroglyphs. And I can recall early in Moorish science when I was given the charge, in essence, to go find yourself. And at that time, being new into Moorish science, I didn't have a clue of what that meant. I'm like, well, I know who I am. My name is XYZ, that kind of deal. And it took months for me to understand what the prophet meant when he said, study self, or man, know thyself. Because I was looking at it from a manifest level or carnal perspective, you know, as what my thoughts were coming from the aspect of being a Black person and being identified here in the West as such. This means that I came with limitations. I came with various veils over my eyes. So when I started doing the study and the research of the lessons, the more I studied, the more I was able to unfold into the consciousness of who I was. In our lessons, the prophet states, time never was when man was not. That in itself was a paradigm shift for me. So he also instructs us to go beneath the surface. That means you've got to go even further into the study of the self, putting aside these things that we see on a manifest or carnal level with our physical eyes or what we hear with these physical ears. And by us recognizing the fact that we come from a source of divinity, and a source of divinity we shall return, this means that there is no death to man. And the prophet speaks about the latent powers that are hidden within each one of us. And this is what I term as the God power. And because we came up here in the West and our thinking was stifled, we didn't even question. We just blindly accepted what was given to us through those that conquered us. So naturally, they're not trying to elevate or educate you to become or come into the consciousness of who you are as God. When we look at it from the aspect of being able to go within, and when the prophet tells us to learn how to love instead of hate, he tells us to purify one's thought pattern. This is the only way that you're going to be able to have a high enough consciousness to be able to study, think, contemplate, receive revelations from the Creator, having that special veil removed, being able to comprehend what the prophet has brought to us. So this is a magnanimous degree because it has been stated that Moore's mind is seen as a galactic weapon. So this is why we were, as a people, dumbed down, not educated properly, etc., to keep us in that limited mentality. And when we come to find out that we have put chains and bounds within our own mindset, the proper term is mental slavery, and in receiving the truth of not only our nationality, but our divine creed, our divine pathway to the Creator, then this opens up the eyes, removes the boulders and the barriers, so that we are able to hear the Creator, be still enough to hear that still small voice. And this is how we go about interpreting Medu, being able to be still enough to hear the voice of the great God, the Creator. So we also speak about the Hierophant within, which in essence is the aspect of our higher self, keeping it above the net. This means that in purifying our thoughts, we are able to use thinking, reasoning, understanding, willing, and remembering to activate that which is within ourselves. So when we look at that divine bond between the Creator and ourselves, and we have to let go of the fact that, I can't even, in essence, a thought such as, there's no way that I can let go of my sinful ways, because I'm not perfect. But this couldn't be further from the truth. So when we look at it as far as cleansing that mindset, being still enough to be able to hear the Creator, and dealing with contemplation and meditation, this is how we are able to interpret the voice of the Creator. We want Medu. And definitely not studying in a scanty way. As you stated more, you dedicated years to this, and you received the revelations. And this is possible for each and every one of us. In our study, going truly within the self, being able to discern our own strengths and weaknesses, then we will be able to tap into that marvelous light, which is the truth that our prophet brought to us. So this has just been a grand class. Dr. Shaheed, much gratitude to you more. Also, much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Islam.
In Islam, Grand National Secretary of State, gratitude, goddess and queen, for that grand droid. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. We love you. All right. But let us call on the grand man, our Grand National Chairman, Dr. Akin Acton Pert M. Heru, Tooth the Common Bay. Islam, you there, grand man? Oh, man, I'm jumping for joy over here. Islam.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Let me give praise to Allah and our Prophet Noah Drali. They much honor to Noah Drali for everything that he brought to let us know that we can save ourselves. And it's a magnanimous mission. So I want to extend much honor to the Holy Prophet for being the angel of Allah that he is. And also to let us know that we ourselves have got a mighty, mighty mission to acquire. And we know the way. So it's not difficult. The thing about it is that our normal way of being is just that. It's normal, but it's so spiritual. It's so truthful. And this is the reason why it is that we sometimes have a problem going from one level to the original. But the thing about it is that's the honor and the blessing, and it just makes me feel good when I see my brothers and sisters and the spirits of Allah just moving about and just happy to be normal, happy to be natural. So it's an honor and a blessing. And so we're here. And, more of this, that's an honor and a blessing. We love you. Islam
And Islam and peace. We love you too, Grand Man. Grand National Chairman of Moorish America, Dr. Akin Acton Pert M. Heru Tooth the Common Bay. Islam, and to the family out there that's listening, y'all better get hold to that book of fire. He autographing copies now, you know, and so, man, that's one of the greatest books ever written. You know, that's our guide post, so to speak. So they got him at headquarters. If you want a copy, 434-676-1555. And you can get your copy of Noble Drew Ali's only autobiography. Others out there don't know what they're talking about. This is the real autobiography of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, written by our Grand National Chairman, the last living adept to make us swift angels, Islam. All right. Well, let us call forth then our National Grand Sheikh, Dr. Serapis Amin Ra El. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Closest to thought.
Oh, that's that thought Drew Ali brought. Islam. Gratitude, Sheikh.
Let us rise. Thank you, God man, for giving us an opportunity to exalt our thoughts in holy union with our Father God Allah, the great God of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We give our high honor to his love, God, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, for setting us free, giving us the truth about our divinity and our nationality. The two things, two components that give us the strength to toil and get another day. And two, our officials on our staff in our workshop for the man, do we give one the highest honors for the work that they do along the way. Honors to our Grand Mufti, Assistant Grand Mufti, Grand Mufti Corps, divine ministers, student ministers alike, Royal Council of Citizens, sympathizers, and supporters. Give honors to you, honors to our flag, seal, the emblem, the Constitution which we stand, Book of Fire, Book of Ali, everything that it takes for more to be free. We give honors to everything that he is, was, and ever more to be. Amen. This has been, wow, a journey that we know had to come to a head at one point, but it's like when you're looking at a good movie, if I can use that terminology, or listening to a nice, smooth song on the radio, and how the words are soothing to the soul or the consciousness. It gives you the ability to more or less go into an in-depth thinking apparatus of what's being conveyed to you. And this is what we've done this evening by our assistant national Grand Sheikh that gives us honor to hear the voice of Allah speaking through this brother's vocal cords and giving Allah's measure to his people, his children, if you will, of himself and what he has to offer those who believe and are endowed with his wisdom. Thank you, Assistant Grand Sheikh, for all you do, and to our guests who took it out of their occasion to join us in our studies and learning. Thank you for your attendance. And don't make it a stranger. Keep coming home, because this is your house, too. This is not only our house. This is your house, the house Drew built. And he built it for you. Your Father got a lot sent you here along the way. So praise the Lord to everything that he is, what is there for to be. We give honor to you, and we pray that all of us will one day be externally and eternally free. January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read in every meeting. Everybody informed all citizens they must end all radical, agitating speeches while they're working on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Some plastic cards and Europeans cause confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. They to obey these orders feel severe consequences. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice then must take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings of profit or violate the divine covenant of the Morris movement will receive the reward from life for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law is laid down to them by the prophet. They lose confidence in that prophet. Sit each in the car and butt, before each other in beds, turn to the state by the prophet found you. This is the holy divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the prophet is not like the government is not like. The prophet therefore is setting out the divine pleas to all Moors Americans to do their part to protect the prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their simple ways. By Noble Jew Ali, this divine warning is to bring laws now that will be enforced by the state government. Hereby, Islam, 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 the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother has given you son. The bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relation that binds you to love and unity, and to burn out the strength for thy own blood. Thy brother's anniversary assist him. Thy sister's in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of our Father contribute to support of this whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This means this close according to Act 2 by divine constitution and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Long live Moors America. We'll see you at Sunday school tomorrow. Praise Allah. Islam.
Islam. Great class, great class. Grand class, grand class. That's
Grand
what sister
class.
that shit. Great class.
Islam,
Very
Peace and
powerful
love,
message.
Moors. All
Islam.
you new Moors, come back again. We
Oh
love your
yeah, y'all
family.
keep coming in, family.
Share this on Facebook. We love you,
Oh yeah,
family. Great class.
Islam. We love you too, more.
Great class.
Peace and love. Y'all know we
Uh,
gotta go without taking our people. Islam with a grand Moorish measure. So we're gonna take our Moorish out with some good Moorish music. Islam, we love you more. Islam. Islam, Islam, Islam. We love you, Moorish America. We love you. Peace and love to our family out there. And we just say gratitude and come back to see us again. One love is one peace. And gratitude to you as well again, Brother Conscious Conqueror. Peace.